The annual CSBS Community Bank Case Study Competition is open to undergraduate students in all fields of study as an opportunity to gain valuable firsthand knowledge of the banking industry. This year's case study examined the impact of the Bank Secrecy Act and anti-money laundering requirements on community banks. Student teams partnered with a local bank to examine compliance challenges, associated time and cost, and identify potential regulatory reforms. It is my privilege to introduce the winner of this year's competition, a team from Mississippi State University. This team advanced through 3 rounds of tough judging by banking professionals and overcame a pool of 37 student teams representing 33 colleges and universities. It also appears that they may have motivated their football team this last Saturday. The first place winners received individual scholarships of $1,000, and their case study was published in the CSBS Journal of Community Bank Case Studies. I encourage you to take a look at the winning case study in the journal, which is available this year on the competition website at csbs.org/bankcasestudy. In a typical year, you would get to meet the team personally at this conference, but this year I'm pleased to introduce them virtually here. Congratulations, Mississippi State University.
Thank you, Mr. Hagler, for that wonderful introduction. I am Matthew Whitledge, Assistant Clinical Professor of Finance at Mississippi State University, and fortunate enough to be the faculty advisor for this winning case study team. I'd like to offer a thank you to the CSBS for having the competition and co-sponsoring the event, the FDIC and Federal Reserve for co-sponsoring the event, and in particular the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis for always doing an amazing job hosting. I also want to thank the judges who took time out of their schedules to help with this competition. If you are watching this conference via live stream, or in particular if you're participating as an attendee, I would encourage you to participate in it going forward. In our case, at one point we had 5 students in an executive conference room with 4 executives of the bank for well over an hour. No matter how many speakers we may bring in, no matter what type of real-world data, it's hard to replicate that experience. Next, we're going to introduce the team. Unfortunately, we have one member who isn't able to make it today. His name is Jake Mlsna. He is a risk management analyst at Renaissance Bank in Tupelo, Mississippi. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Juan.
So my name is Juan Benavides. I just graduated from Mississippi University in May. I got a degree in finance and I got a minor in French. I currently work as a commercial credit analyst for Planners Bank and Trust in Indianola, Mississippi. That's in the Mississippi Delta. And yeah.
My name is Benson. I'm from Auburn, Maine. I graduated Mississippi State University with a Bachelor of Business Administration degree in finance. I'm currently working as the secondary market coordinator at Androscoggin Bank for their mortgage department. This is a community bank primarily serving customers and communities in central and southern Maine.
Hello, my name is Byron McClendon. I'm from Clinton, Mississippi. I graduated this past spring semester majoring in finance. I currently work as a bank examiner for the Department of Banking and Consumer Finance in Jackson, Mississippi.
Hello, my name is Kirk Wright. I'm currently still in undergrad at Mississippi State. I'll be graduating in December with a bachelor's in finance and another bachelor's in French through Mississippi State's International Business Program. This past summer, I worked as the internal audit intern at Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I am currently looking for a full-time position. And thank you.
So we were fortunate to be able to partner with Citizens National Bank for this competition. They're headquartered in Meridian, Mississippi. They've grown to about $1.6 billion in total assets and 27 full-service branches. As I mentioned, we were able to meet with 4 people on the executive team of that community bank. I also want to mention a special thank you to Vanda and Michelle for helping with this competition and getting everything set up for us. By all definitions, Citizens National Bank is a community bank. They're there for their customers, they're there for their communities, and they're there to make sure that they give back to those communities. At this point, Juan will offer a financial background for Citizens National Bank.
Financially, Citizens National Bank has done extraordinarily well Citizens National Bank at the end of the year of 2019 was around $1.4 billion bank in assets. As of Q2 of 2020, they're sitting on roughly around $1.6 billion in assets. Citizens National Bank has grown organically throughout the years and has seen net income growth of 61% over the last 5 years. This growth has attributed to the rapid increase in loan production and the effect of it on interest income. Interest income has grown 22.58% over the past 3 years. Citizens National Bank relies less on non-interest income due to staying competitive and charging less fees than the larger banks. The second component of rapid growth is due to the large jump in deposits, which is reflected in the increased investment in securities of about $40 million. Citizens National Bank varied in between 74% and 80% in regards to net loans to deposits, which is pretty conservative. As far as Tier 1 capital growth, Citizens National Bank has performed above average. The bank has a ratio of 10%, which implies they're in good capital health. Citizens National Bank has outperformed its peers in terms of growth and efficiency. In the previous 5 years, CNB has lowered their efficiency ratio from 69% to 60% and moving closer to the optimal 50%. As far as loan portfolio, real estate consists of the majority of the portfolio of Citizens National Bank, and they have made it a focus to increase their commercial lending and SBA loans. Overall, the bank is doing very well financially and has seen an upward trend in profitability, as well as a deeper connection to its community.
Citizens National Bank conducts an overall risk assessment in which those involved with BSA monitor financial information. The information is then used to see how many suspicious activity reports or SARs they have that month and why they might have occurred. The bank relies on using the compliance software Verifin that efficiently and quickly outputs data to the company. CNB then looks for any trends in the data and monitors these trends for further analysis. Verifin uses machine learning, which can help streamline the process in further months by providing more accurate reports on suspicious activity. Thanks to the software, compliance software, CNB have dropped their SARs from 1,000 alerts per month to 300 alerts per month. CEO Archie McDonald described Verifin as the Cadillac of BSA and AML system. CNB takes their BSA and AML compliance very seriously and has 3 employees dedicated to its compliance, each with a different focus. CNB views overall compliance costs of BSA and AML as scale fixed costs, which means that as the bank grows, so will the compliance cost grows. The bank has been able to condense employees' former duties into a process that is done in just 10 hours per month. Since then, this has given the bank the flexibility to allow more time to focus on other projects or more SARS investigation. However, using Verifin, CNB continues to face challenges under BSA and AML. With CNB being a relatively small bank, and regulations can be more difficult to follow compared to larger banks. Smaller banks usually lack the manpower to keep up with what needs to be done. Banks are also required to send reports to the government, but the government does not relay the information back to the banks. With CNB looking at banks as the eyes and ears of BSA and AML, they figured that they could be better equipped to handle more SARs.
When it comes to technology for Citizens National Bank, Verifin is the star of the show for BSA and AML compliance. As Byron stated, this software uses artificial intelligence and machine learning, as well as user inputs to find suspicious activity and signal alerts if needed. CNB can choose how strict or loosely to set up the systems for alerts on possible incidents. According to Ms. Menard, CNB's compliance manager, it's all about finding the sweet spot of these triggers so they're not overloaded with alerts, but also so suspicious activity won't slip through the cracks. In terms of collaboration, CNB's senior management stated that most of their collaboration efforts are utilized through Verifin, which shows current trends in fraud and other money laundering efforts. This information is consolidated from information provided by the many financial institutions that use the software. CNB has also established a strong relationship with local law enforcement, along with the Attorney General's office, to develop an effective channel for reporting to proper authorities should an incident take place. They suggested, though, that regulators could help with collaboration efforts in showing the trends and difficulties that other banks in the area are dealing with. Altogether, a backflow of information from the government could be very beneficial for community banks, and filling out CTRs and SARs may be viewed as less of a burden of paperwork and more of a benefit from their efforts if this happened. A clear two-way street of communication and information with the government entities would prove extremely beneficial, especially for smaller financial institutions.
So part 4 mainly focused on the future of BSA and AML compliance. One thing that stuck out to me during our meeting with CMB was their view of SARs. They mentioned how SARs are black and white in terms of conditions, such as the type of transactions, number of transactions, and the dollar amount, but really lack information on how to implement that in a real-world environment. We spoke about how clarifying the timing and process of reporting would be extremely beneficial. I also looked into CIP, customer identification programs, and their broadness. One area that could be improved is the necessary documentation to open a bank account. Allowing a variety of identification causes an inconsistency in reporting, which creates a restriction for banks when trying to recognize fraudulent individuals. I also looked at the modernization of AML and how this relates to new fintech companies like Cash App and Venmo. A study done by Lend EDU showed that 32.6% of users have used these platforms for illicit activities, which allows the money during the transactions to be cleaned. Better communication between banks and fintech companies would greatly reduce the amount of money being cleaned through these systems. I also looked at how compliance cost is a larger burden on smaller banks compared to larger institutions, and that future regulation should take this into account. As Byron and Liam spoke about, another way to improve compliance would be to improve the flow of information from regulators to banks, a system similar to Verafin's network, which shares reports and data between its users, would be a large step in the right direction. These observations for the improvement of innovation and communication would be a step toward ending illicit activities within and through banks instead of simply mitigating these activities. Thank you.
So to kind of end our portion of this before we get to Q&A, I'd like to offer a thank you to these young men again for the great job that they've done. As Ms. Stewart mentioned, all of us in the spring had things that we had to deal with at that time. 4 of these young men were graduating. The 5th was a senior in finance. Most of them are looking for jobs or all of them are looking for jobs or internships. With about a week and a half notice that they were going to move classes online, they had to transition to that, find a job, worry about graduating, and still manage to do a great job with this competition. So gentlemen, well done. Thank you for your efforts, and I appreciate it. With that, I'd like to turn it back over to Ms. Katie, open it up for questions.
Hi everyone. So I just want to thank the students and the professor for their contributions this year, and congratulations again. I'd like to open up for any questions. You can please add them to the chat or the Q&A.
While we wait for a question, I'd like to offer again a thank you to CNB and their work with us. It was, they were the 4th bank I contacted. One of the banks was going through a merger at the time. Obviously, that wasn't a great time. And then eventually we got to the list where I spoke again with Ms. Vanda and Mr. Stringer on working on this partnership. So I thank them for their work as well.
Well, Katie, I'm thinking in the interest of time, let's turn it back over to Kevin, and I know he'll wrap up this segment, and we'll move to break.
Great, thank you, Jim, and thank you to the team for a great presentation. And I look forward to hearing more post-plenary this afternoon at 4 o'clock. And as we've already stated, we've started on the 2021 case study competition already. Students will examine how community banks have responded to major forces that impacted the nation this year. the COVID-19 pandemic, and a renewed commitment to diversity and inclusion. Registration is currently open with all statements of interest due by January 11th. We look forward to seeing the top team from the 2021 competition next year and hopefully in St. Louis. So that'll do it for us.